two very special guests here with me in the studio today, V. Neal and Lee Joyner. V and Lee, thank you for joining us. V and Lee are both from Cinema Makeup School. They're Academy Award-winning makeup artists from the special effects and cinematic industry. Let me share a little bit of their incredible resumes with you. V has earned not one, not two, but 3 Academy Awards for the fantastic films Ed Wood, Mrs. Doubtfire, and Beetlejuice. But she's also credited on some other films you might recognize, including LBJ, the Hunger Games trilogy, Pirates of the Caribbean, How the Grinch Stole Christmas, Batman and Robin, Batman Forever, Batman Returns, Hook, amazing, Edward Scissorhands, a favorite of mine, Lost Boys, and Laser Blast. That's just a small sampling of some of her resume.
That was it.
Had to end with a bang. And Lee has worked on Star Trek Beyond, Star Trek Voyager, Kiss Kiss Bang Bang, Godzilla, Stargate, and Mimic, among others. Oh, and also some musical artists like Usher and Slipknot and Alice Cooper. I imagine that's pretty fun to work with.
Yeah.
In the latest chapters of their amazing careers, though, both Lee and V are with Cinema Makeup School, which we're going to talk about in just a moment. V is Director of Education, and Lee is Director of Admissions. Again, thank you for joining us. We're so excited to have you here with us today.
Thank you for having us.
Let's start off. Can you tell me a little bit about Cinema Makeup School? How long have you guys been around? Where are you based?
Sure.
What are some of the degrees or professions your students are earning?
Be happy to. In fact, we share something in common with Sideshow. This is our 25th year as well.
Awesome.
Yeah,
Congratulations.
Thank you.
25
Yeah,
years.
we're very happy. It's
quarter century landmark there.
It is. It's a lot of fun. We're having a lot of celebrations throughout the year and next year for the 25th. Well, Cinema Makeup School is in Los Angeles. We are located inside the Wiltern Theater in
cool.
kind of the Koreatown area in Los Angeles. We train in everything from beauty to airbrushing to body painting to creature maquette sculpture to even digital. ZBrush, we have Photoshop, creature design, special makeup effects. There's really nothing we don't train in that you would have to know to be a special effects makeup artist in Hollywood. Programs can go as short as 1 week to as long as 8 months.
That's fantastic. And I imagine LA is like the best city to be based for
it's-
people pursuing these careers.
It's the perfect place.
And you know what? There's one really cool thing, that the building that we're in, the Wiltern Theater building, is one of the oldest buildings in that area. It also, they used to have the Academy Awards at the Wiltern Theater, like back in the early 20s, yeah.
Yeah.
So it's a beautiful historic building. It's an Art Deco building. That's that beautiful green on the outside, but all the details are still inside the building, and it's phenomenal. Just the history in the building alone, just when you walk in there, you feel like you're in old Hollywood. It's awesome.
Oh my gosh. Well, I can't wait to come down and
pretty
see you
cool.
guys. Do you guys do tours of your campus?
We do, yeah. And we have a Jack Pierce gallery that has a lot of beautiful sculptures and creatures throughout the years in Hollywood.
Some of the work from V and yourself and
Well,
some of
yeah,
your
Unfortunately,
exactly.
I don't have anything in there, which is crazy, but
We keep asking.
You keep all your stuff at home.
we have to make lists. We have to
I know,
make
it's a lot of
lists
work.
it, you know, it's
But
kind
we're
of a
fortunate
different
in
deal.
that we're friends with, everyone in the industry. So before they end up throwing something away or, they have something that they have an extra of, they always call me up and say, hey, can we showcase it at your school? I think it's great for the students coming in to be inspired and be able to see one of the mermaids from Pirates of the Caribbean, or to see
that's
some
so cool.
of Rick Baker's work or Kazuhiro Tsuji's. And of course we have our graduates working there because they work all over the world doing this kind of art, as well as instructors too, who all work in the industry.
Awesome. I imagine some of our audience isn't very familiar with your industry and the special effects and makeup. Can you tell me a little bit about, from your careers, maybe something someone wouldn't expect or know about, someone that's not familiar? Maybe a story from a project you worked on, a movie, or an experience working with someone on a particular makeup where something unexpected happened?
Unfortunately, the only stories I remember about stuff like that are the really ones you're not supposed to talk about.
Those are the best
Well,
stories.
it's like actors are kind of like off color that are just a pain in the ass, or something
You've
like
done a lot
that.
of work with Tim Burton. I imagine he's
Oh no, Tim's not
kind
off.
of works
no,
the character.
Tim's awesome. I love working with Tim. I mean, I'm sorry I don't get to work with him too much anymore, but he does most of his filming over in Britain, so we can't really work over there, unfortunately. But
Overseas.
yeah, so I did get to go over and do Sweeney Todd because Johnny took me, but even that was difficult. So that was my last outing with Tim as well. But no, he's fabulous to work with because he's an artist himself, so he gives you a lot of inspiration when you go in, and plus he has his style that he likes. His characters. Oh, I have a cute story.
Very specific
This is a
story.
Tim Burton story.
Awesome.
Tim, we were doing. Rick Baker designed the Martin Landau makeup for Ed Wood, and he, designed the makeup, told me the colors to use. I replicated the makeup the way he asked me to do it. We went inside and we were filming, and Tim looked at me and said, "V, he looks too healthy. He looks way too." Because black and white, you lose a lot in black and white, so
Sure.
we really couldn't tell. So he says, "He has to look sick. You have to darken up his eyes." And I thought, oh shit, here we go. So I said, okay. So I took Martin back to the makeup trailer, and I'm in there and I'm putting dark around his eyes. I'm trying to make him look, I'm squinting and trying to visualize what it's going to look like on camera.
In black and white.
Yeah, and in walks Rick Baker, and he goes, "God damn it, V," he says, "I knew the minute I gave you this makeup, you were going to put black circles around his eyes." And I went, I said, no. And then Martin said, no, it's not her idea. Tim told her to darken my eyes. I look too healthy. So, but I mean, silly stuff like that happens. But, he has that aesthetic. Tim, he likes that dark around the eyes. And Martin, we didn't really put like dark circles around his eyes or anything. I just had to make him look sickly, But still, it was just kind of funny that the first thing I'm in there doing is darkening up his eyes, and in walks Rick. It was like, oh, damn.
Well, you mentioned that a lot of the directors or creatives you work with are also artists too. It's the same when I worked with Guillermo del Toro. He is a trained special effects makeup artist. People don't realize that. That's why same with J.J. Abrams. They had a similar background with Dick Smith's program. So they are as enthusiastic and as loving of the practical effect as we are. And Guillermo would come into the lab and just hang out and talk about comic books and H.P. Lovecraft, and that's something that I cherish. And in my memories of working with Guillermo is that we just long days of just sitting there and just talking about nerdy stuff all day.
That's nice to hear, because sometimes, if your boss or the head of the project knows kind of too much about what's going on, that could be a blessing or a curse, right? If they come in and they're like, especially with some of the strong aesthetic, like a Guillermo del Toro or a Tim Burton, right? Like coming in, but it sounds like everyone's pretty collaborative. And
oh, definitely.
The leadership is kind of sending down inspiration or direction that's specific, but gives you guys some room for creativity.
I think if they're really
absolutely.
great to work with, they want to work as a team with collaboration. So they'll always ask you your opinion, or they love what you're doing, or can you try this? It's usually, from my experience, especially if they're a strong creative, there's not a lot of pushing things through. It's more discussing and talking. But they'll have a vision, they'll have a design, they want to pull it together. But that's why they're bringing you on their team. They want someone else to rely on for that input.
And then a lot of times their aesthetic, so kind of what they're looking for. So it's a much easier collaboration as well if you've worked with a director before. You can kind of think ahead and say, I know he's going to want this, so let's do that. Blah blah blah, whatever. Just simple things like when I was doing the Hunger Games, Gary Ross he directed the first Hunger Games, and he wanted the people in the Capitol to have a very different kind of look to them. Like, they were supposed to be crazy and elaborate and all that, but he didn't want anybody to look pretty. I mean, he wanted Effie to be very, like she had been putting on makeup day after day and not taking it off. Like it was cracking, and her eye makeup was messy, and she was, he wanted her lipstick smeared, and I'm going, oh, I'm not too positive about this whole thing. But I thought, okay, well, I'll meet him in the middle, So we tried to do it, but she is so pretty, it was hard to make her look really awful, but she had a really hard edge on her in the first movie, which I was not attracted to. I didn't like it, but that's what the director wanted, so that's what I gave him. Cut to, we go do the next one. Now Effie, I'm talking to our director, oh my gosh, and I can't remember his name, I'm so embarrassed.
Francis Lawrence.
Oh,
Francis Lawrence.
cut to, we go do the second and third installments of the Hunger Games, and Francis Lawrence is now directing.
Mhm.
And I said to Francis, I said, can I make Effie look pretty? He goes, oh yeah, do whatever you want, B. So now we have
We were like,
fabulous,
phew.
on the first one, we never even knew what she was wearing basically till the day before she came on. So
Oh my gosh.
we were flying blind. I mean, we had everything at the last minute. This time, Trish, our costume designer, was giving us photos of the costuming that she'd be wearing ahead of time. So we had time to design the makeups, like the butterfly thing. I had time to get the butterflies together so I could glue butterflies all over her.
Awesome.
It's like really cool stuff like that. I got to figure out and design makeups for her. And it was really tricky because a lot of people, you just assume that she had on all these big elaborate makeup jobs, but if you think about it, first comes her costuming, and then I wait and I let the hairstylist get her, because you want her overall look before you put your makeup on, because the makeup is going to be the crowning glory that ties it all together.
Yeah.
So if you look at a lot of the makeup, some of them were actually very simple because she had so much other stuff going on. If you would have put too much makeup on her, it would have just been, she wouldn't have been pretty
you can't
anymore.
be to the
You wouldn't even
nines,
know what
top
to
to
look
bottom,
at.
right?
You wouldn't know
Yeah.
what to look at. But she had like 8 different looks in that, and that was so much fun to design those looks for her, because most of the time I'm only ever getting to do, not monsters,
One kind
but
of
character
signature.
makeups and guys in weird makeups and stuff, and I never have really been able to like excel in the beauty makeup area of stuff, And plus Jennifer had lots of great looks as well, so that was really fun for me to be able to do so much beauty work,
Yeah, but those
on the show.
makeups were so iconic.
cool.
I mean, that's what I remember when I think of the movies, is her makeup, really.
Yeah, she was fun to do. She really was. And
How much does talent figure into that equation? Like, do you ever have an actor or an actress that the director and the crew is going towards one look, but the actor or actress is like, oh, I want to highlight my cheekbones, or don't do this? Do they get a say? Do they weigh in?
well, it depends on the character too, because you have to take into consideration what does this person do for a living, where do they live, what's their lifestyle, yada yada yada. You're not going to put glorious highlights on somebody who lives in
Pirates should be greasy,
Yeah,
right?
exactly. I mean, it's just you have
Unwashed.
to take into consideration all of these different aspects of the person's life before you can really say the character is going to look like this or that. What's her clothing look like? If she's wearing a house dress, she's not going to have she's not going to have frosty cheeks, you know what I mean? It's going to be crazy, so.
So does talent get a say? Do they weigh in on the kind of, sort of?
Sometimes, sometimes you have to listen to them. They're the ones wearing it, they have to be happy. As long as it's within the constraints of the character, they can pretty much get whatever they want, I'm pretty amiable to that. I mean, I want them to be happy too, because otherwise they're just going to make my life miserable otherwise,
Yeah, because you've got to replicate the same
Yeah,
look like
exactly.
multiple times for multiple days of shooting, and so really it's not like a one and done kind of a thing.
Yeah, I mean, they're for months, weeks, whatever it is,
That's crazy.
and you're locked in a box in the morning with them, so you have to make sure that they're happy when they get there and they leave,
Oh, so you've mentioned a lot of different places that influences for makeup can come from. You've got to work with costuming, with the director, with the talent. Where do you take inspiration from, or when you bring your creativity to a project?
Well, first of all, I hate that word inspiration because you know what? It's like, I'm not doing fashion makeup. I don't have to think out of the, like, I'm getting inspired by a field of daisies or any of that shit. It's like, okay, I read a script. My inspiration is right there in front of me. This is
You've
the
got a
character,
story.
this is where they live, this is what they do for a living. Like I said, all of those things, those are your inspiration. It's what's written in front of you. You're given guidelines, and those are the guidelines that are your inspiration. It's whatever is in the script. So it's a different animal for us, doing that. We have to talk to the director. I mean, sometimes you even talk to the art director, like, what does this house that they live in look like? Where, what do they do for a living? It's just, those are that's, and I hate using that word inspiration, like I said, but those are the things that make up your character. It's what, it's their environment. That's what makes up your character.
That's awesome. And I'm assuming that's something you teach and go deep with at the cinema makeup school when you're working
It's just like
with
when you're
students.
developing, a creature, what kind of cave does he live in? Does he live in the cave? Does he live in the ocean?
Yeah.
It's like, that's how you have to, design these
Sure.
characters.
Well, the students are required to write the
Yeah.
background of the character. They have to know what their emotions are, what
That
their
makes
passions
sense.
are,
Yeah.
what they're dealing with in the moment. Otherwise, you don't have any guidance for bringing the character to life so it becomes believable. It has to look like it has a history, a future, it has motivations. What is it stressed? Is it angry? What emotion do you want the audience to think or feel when they see it?
Mm-hmm.
You know, that's where animal influences come in, or primal influences of emotion and different directions in the anatomy and the musculature. So, yeah, we get pretty crazy at the school about that.
That sounds like a lot of fun.
It is. It is.
Do you can you share with us some of your favorite creatures that you've had a hand in creating?
V, you want to start?
I don't have any creatures, do I?
Well, you've created so many. I mean,
Creatures?
Creatures
Well,
like...
maybe Danny DeVito.
I mean-
He was a creature, that's for
I would,
damn
call,
sure.
I would call vampires creatures. Come on.
Beetlejuice
Okay, well-
is a creature. I would say.
I guess they're all kind of creatures.
Yeah,
Beetlejuice is fun. I mean,
that's amazing.
that was kind of a fun thing to do because he started off like as a derelict. I mean, Tim's drawings of Beetlejuice were literally like these sketches he had up on a corkboard in this crappy old trailer that he was in. I mean, we were like this redheaded stepchildren of Warner Brothers when we started that. We were on this.
Oh no.
He was like in a crappy construction trailer with a couple of other people on a lot at Culver City Studios. We were like hidden away from everybody. Nobody wanted
Oh my
anything to do with us.
God.
And you know, I walked in. There's this tiny little cork board with all these sketches on it, and you know, I didn't know they were Tim's, but I found out eventually that they were Tim's, and he had sketches of Beetlejuice up there, and I don't know where I'm going with this, but anyway, it
He
was just.
sounded derelicty and not
he
as
looked like a
creaturey
bum.
as he turned
just looked
out,
like
right?
somebody was like picking in trash cans. You know? And
The
so,
character definitely has that attitude, but he's so
Yeah, he
you
does.
know.
And so, you know, when I did the first test makeup of him, he just looked hideous. He was just too scary and creepy, and it was like, ooh, you didn't even want to be around him. He was just nasty, you know? Tim says, no, he's too nasty. So I took him back, changed him again, and still didn't like it. And then so I started talking, and I said, well, can I just take him back to the trailer and do whatever I want? He goes, okay, whatever, do whatever you want. So we went back to the trailer, and Michael's saying, you know, I really would like to have a broken nose. He said,
What?
I don't want to have my nose look the same. And we said, okay. And I said, well, and what if we give you a higher hairline and stuff, you know? So,
Oh.
so what we did was, we put a bald cap on him. We moved his wig back. We gave him a broken nose. We didn't have any broken nose pieces. Steve Laporte was working with me on that. So
How do you give someone a broken nose? Aside from the traditional manner.
Okay. Besides
Yeah,
punching
don't
him in
follow
the
that
face.
method.
It was too messy. Steve said, well, I don't have any broken nose pieces. I said, do you have any prosthetics laying around that would mimic a broken nose? He said, I don't have any broken noses. But he says, I have these swollen lips. He said, I did it for like a guy who has a swollen upper and lower lip. And he said, well, just put one on each side of his nose and we'll make it broken. So that's what we did. He had lots of them. He had already run so many of them. So that's what we did. We put these swollen lips, one here and one here, to give him a, you know, slightly broken nose. And then I said, well, you know, all the other people in this world that he lives in are going to be these colored, you know, pastel colored people. And I said, okay, well, then he needs to be some sort of a color too, you know. But I thought, well, I don't want to make him a color, but he should be something weird. So I picked the palest yellow that I could find in this one palette of colors. So when you put it on him, I mean, for all intents and purposes, everybody thinks he had white makeup on, which he didn't, because white makeup, he would have been blue, you know?
Oh.
But this was a really, really pale yellow. And then I said, you know what, get me a PA. I want somebody to go to the hobby store and get me some crushed foam, you know, the kind they use on like railroad hobby things, all these colored crushed foams.
Yeah, like the green.
Yeah, so they
greenery.
went and got me like different bags of colored crushed foam and some moss and stuff, and I said, we're just gonna make him look like he crawled out from underneath a rock, basically. And I said, let's have it coming out from underneath his wig and his collars. And so what we did was we just painted our adhesive on, and I just started taking the stuff and smacking it down like little tendrils, you know, all over it, and just glued all this moss to him.
That's fabulous.
And darkened up his eyes. I just made the circles around his eyes more like cartoony, so he would be kind of funny to look at, but still, you know, we kind of knew what we were going to do to the other characters as well. And I said, well, he'll be kind of scary but creepy but funny because he's so comical, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And so we took the pictures back to Tim, and he goes, that's awesome. Okay, go with that. I love that, you know? So basically all the other characters were sort of built off of his look too, with the circles around their eyes. And all the different colors, because when I had initially gone in to do my interview with Tim, when he was talking about the people in the afterlife, he said, well, I want them to be pastel colors. And I went, oh, that's interesting, okay. And I said, you mean like Necco wafers?
Delicious.
Yeah, it's like, probably nobody even knows what Necco wafers are.
Oh,
They're
yeah.
an ancient candy. They,
Oh,
they
yeah.
were nasty. They were like,
They were like
Yeah.
space
sugar
saucers
discs.
with the
Yeah, they were like
Inside,
sugar
yeah.
discs, and,
Yeah.
and they were all these pastel colors. Well, of course, we made the colors a lot more intense because it was more fun. But anyway,
Let's go
So-
back to like an interview though. Like in your industry, so you're preparing graduates to go out in the world. What is an interview like? Do you sit down with a director? Do you show a portfolio? Is it a conversation? What is it like, and how do you prepare students for that
Well,
nerve-wracking reality?
I mean, we'll train them in a mock production meeting and breaking down a script, bidding on a project. I mean, we have working makeup artists as teachers, so they're bringing that real world experience right to the classroom. But their second week in school, they start getting the job emails every day, Monday through Friday. And they should be emailing all these student directors and independent project directors. They'll send them a link to their Instagram or maybe a few pictures, or they'll just say, hey, I'm a student at Cinema. We're looking, I love the work you're doing, and I'd love to create your zombies or make your vampires.
Cool.
And then if you can get them to reply, I mean, that's a big deal, because a lot of people are emailing, and you're trying to at least get them to like something about the way you write or a photo you sent or something. And then they might send you a script or a synopsis or an outline, or maybe just character descriptions, and then they might be asking for a budget or time frame, availability. And then you're hoping to get them with a face-to-face. And then you'll have a list of questions based on the script or the rough outline. Most of the times it's not a script because they don't have it finished. And then you say, this is what I can do and this is how much I can do it for. And you come to an agreement. Most of what we do, especially for special effects, and in the creation end, not just the application end, is a lot of talking back and forth and deciding on things and trying things out, and then test makeups, and then then you get into production. So if you really need to learn how to collaborate with people and just talk to them. The makeup we do is actually fairly easy for us because we're so passionate about it and we practice it all the time and we love it. But funny enough, when students come into the school, that's the thing they're most nervous about, because it's just been them in a room and maybe watching YouTube or Instagram, and they have the worst filter of all, looking at their own makeup, so they don't think they're good enough or they don't think they'll be successful. And I tell them, just be adequate. At a minimum, be competent. But I know you're going to be fine, and I know you'll be better than that. It's more about just showing up and doing the jobs and meeting people and getting the experience, making lifelong relationships when they start working.
Do you guys have any stories from interviews that you've done throughout your career? It's sort of like wacky conversations or requests maybe you've had to like show off a test makeup or a skill on a project that you guys did?
Well, I have a bad story for an interview. Really
Bad stories are the best stories.
My first job interview out of college, this was in Florida. I was living in Cocoa Beach, and I had set up an interview with an animatronics studio in Jacksonville, Sally Animatronics. And I was so bad with social interactions. I didn't go to events. I didn't really talk to people. I didn't know how the real world operated.
a normal artist.
So I had to drive 2 hours up the coast to go to this interview, middle of summer. It's hot, humid in Florida. I took my portfolio and I didn't know what to wear, so my dad had his prom tux. And I think it was pale blue. It was pale blue.
Oh,
Had a bow tie. I didn't take the ruffle shirt.
Polyester.
It was
my
horrible.
God.
And I drove up there in that.
Oh.
In my truck,
Oh.
and I sat in the waiting room and I was sweating bullets because it was so hot and humid, and they thought I was crazy. They let me sit there for 2 hours because they didn't want to talk to me. They just said, okay, well, someone will be with you, and they just ignored me. And I got so mad, I stormed across the street to the sculpture studio and forced them to look at my work. And, I didn't have a lot of human sculptures. I had creatures and other stuff. And so Raymond Wyrick, who I'm still friends with now today, he was a supervisor. He still didn't know what to think of me, but he gave me some clay and some eyeballs and a board and said, go home and sculpt Marilyn Monroe and make it look like she's wearing makeup, but don't put any hair on her and make her pretty. But I had to go home and then study her features, which are different than what the makeup looks like. So I had to
Yeah.
marry the two, and then I had to take pictures and time myself, and I was so happy. It took me like 26 hours, and I drove back up there, brought the sculpture, laid out all the pictures, and he proceeded to just verbally rip me a new one. He said it was horrific, it's the worst he'd ever seen, and he was pointing out all the flaws, and I went back home saying, okay, this is not, I can't do this. I have to go into IT or something.
Oh my
And
God.
That's so mean.
Two,
Oh my God.
2 weeks later, he called me and he offered me a job. He was testing me to see how I would handle criticism. And because I didn't freak out or curse at him, I just turned around and said, thank you for your time, and went back home. So then I started working there part-time. It was, yeah.
Yeah, that's
So
rough.
that's when I'm tough with the kids at school. The worst thing you can do is go out there thinking you're a lot better than you are. It's better knowing what you can do and accepting it so you can grow.
Ugh.
Problem is people reach points where they don't grow anymore. And they think they're the best at what they do, or they think they're great, but then you're never going to improve. You always improve, always, all the time.
Oh my goodness.
And then I started part-time temporary, making minimum wage in '93, and 10 months later I was supervisor. And then I went to work with Disney, and then I did a few more jobs, and then I came out here in '95 and
You
started
know,
working.
I totally agree with that tough love thing, but you know what? I don't know that works so good anymore. Kids nowadays are so wimpy. They're just such little shits. They're so sensitive. They get like, you have to coddle them. You have to tell them all the good stuff first, and then say, you did a really good job on this part and this part, but you know what? This part over here really sucks. You really need to work on this one.
Oh.
Yeah, it's
I
true.
really think you have to give them the kudos, tell them the good parts first, because their parents have just handed them everything and given them everything and told them how fabulous they are and sent them on their way into the world. And if you kick them in the head first thing, I don't know that they're going to recuperate.
You're not going to get back up. Oh man.
It's really hard, and and I see it every day. Especially, artists, they're so sensitive, and now, a lot of the kids that we have today, I really think there's so many sensitive people that you really have to be careful how you deal with the kids.
Yeah,
At least
and-
I try to be nice first and then tell them they suck
Right.
after.
But we wouldn't be doing our job as a school if we weren't honest with them.
Yeah,
We have to be.
You have to be honest with them, but I think you really have to handle them with kid gloves
Yeah.
because they get crushed too easily and they might not recuperate, and some of them are really, really good artists. They have incredible potential, but they just, they might need a little help getting there, and we really try hard to do that, I've seen so many students that look so promising, but I can tell they're fragile. Half the kids won't even talk to you when you walk in the room. They're kind of like
Shy and
deer in the headlights. They don't know how to communicate. They've been on their
no.
phones for years. That's all they know is their room and their computer and their phones, and kids don't know how to communicate anymore. It's really difficult. They
Yeah, and
really
there's
have
no-
to relearn everything when they get out in public because they've just been sheltered for so long.
Yeah, and people don't understand that about our job. It's not about the talent. It's about your ability to interact with people and work as part of a
Yeah.
team. And that's what we're teaching them there. It's important. That's why they got to start working. They've got to interact with each other, and they've got to remove their fragility from we teach them how to build a callus around their heart in regards to their work. Because you have to learn how to navigate the real world in that. And it's tough, but if you can't do it, then at that point it's just a hobby.
yeah, and you guys
So-
have one probably unique. It only applies to a few professions where it's not going to be digital. You can't do a makeup over email.
No, you have
Right,
to
you
be
have
able
to
to
communicate with people.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You have to
Yeah.
be able to talk to people. You have to be able to talk to somebody to get a job. It doesn't happen on your telephone, and nobody's going to walk up to you and say, "Oh, I hear you went to cinema makeup school. Here's a movie." No, it doesn't work that way.
Yeah.
You have to earn it. You have to. You have to earn it. You
Put
have to
yourself
be
out
able to
there.
speak about yourself and be able to speak about the project, and you have to have all these really great communicating skills. And they're going to have to. They have to come out of their skin and start dealing with real life and stop talking to their telephones.
Mm-hmm.
And
It's crazy. You go places and all you ever see is people on their phones, and they're mostly kids. It's a shame.
yeah, it's
They could be-
definitely an indelible
they could be
part of our
at the
culture.
table next to them and they're texting back and forth.
Yeah.
Like
Why aren't you
clueless.
talking to each
Yeah.
other, you idiots? What the hell?
I'm sure you help your students kind of a lot through examples. Lee, you kind of shared that tough love interview. Do you have any sort of challenging career moment anecdotes that you share with the students to kind of help them, show that you kind of went through your own challenges and kind of get them to buck up and put themselves out there?
I kind of repeat some of those stories about difficult actor types, and just how you have to, get over it and deal with it, and hopefully, you wind up being okay. And I think a lot of times you'll come with actors that are really challenging, and they almost are challenging you personally to see how much you'll take.
Oh boy.
And if you stand up for yourself 9 times out of 10, that's exactly what they want you to do. If you just stick to your guns, and because they're testing you to see if you know what you're talking about, or that you know what you're doing, or whatever, are you gonna whip out on me and not take care of me? It's weird, there's like so many egos that we have to deal with, but a lot of times
normal. Celebrities are not normal people like the rest of us, right? Their realities are
with
something
those
else.
Challenging actors, it's just stand up for yourself and let them know that you're going to do the best job that you can do for them and make them look great. And if they have a problem, they can come to you, but don't. It's like if you allow yourself to be berated daily by them, and don't stand up for yourself, you're doomed.
Yeah, you have to show confidence.
Yeah, you have to be confident. You just have to almost put them in their place.
That's fascinating.
Yeah.
So you both have worked on movies and on series as well. Is there a difference in terms of the relationships with directors and talent and the makeup themselves if you're working on a television series as opposed to, a feature film?
Well, I haven't done a television series in 35 years, so the only television series I ever did was The A-Team.
Oh my God, if you're going to do a television series, that's the one to do, though. I mean, come on.
And it was fun.
That's awesome.
We just
Oh my
blew
God.
up people all the time. Nobody ever got hurt. Nobody got killed. They must have fired off 300 rounds of bullets and nobody ever got shot. I thought, but these people are the worst bloody shots.
Oh my God.
But it was fun.
Up there with G.I.
And
Joe.
we did, like a lot of likeness makeups, and
Awesome.
I did a lot of disguise makeups on George Peppard, and we had to double all the guys all the time on second unit, so I was putting bald caps on stuntmen to double Mr. T all the time. And,
That's awesome.
But it doesn't even matter if you're on a TV show or a film. You're with those people. You have to figure you're with them longer than you are with your family or whoever's at home. Because you're spending, in the makeup department, you're definitely spending 16 hours a day with these people.
Oh my gosh.
So,
that's a long day.
because, they want to shoot for 12 hours. And what if you have a 3-hour pre-call and then you have to clean them up afterwards? So you have a 16-hour day right there.
So you're basically just always on call if something happens or something comes up.
But those people become your family, and I think it happens no matter if you're doing a TV show or a film. And it's funny, you might not see those people again for 10 years, and when you see them again, it's like, oh my God, how have you been? I love you, I miss you. And it's funny, you form a connection to people. It's just like, I was doing a movie recently, and I hadn't worked with this actor in 20 years. And he was down getting his hair cut, and I was at the other end of the trailer, and he wasn't looking down. He was being focused at his haircut or whatever. And the hairstylist said, okay, Tommy, V, are you ready for Tommy? And he turns around like this, and he goes, V. Neal! Get on down here. I went down, I said, hey, Tommy, and he wanted to shake my hand. I said, screw that. I said, give me a hug, goddammit. I hadn't seen him in 20 years, because I had done Batman with him. And, he had repeatedly asked for me on other films, and I just kindly decided not to make myself available. He was kind of a crotchety character. He has mellowed out so much, and he was lovely. And I was basically on this film for Woody, and I said, Woody, I'm going to hang with Tommy, make sure he's taken care of and keep him cool. And he says, V, you do whatever you want. You just stay with him. I'm good. I said, I'll take care of you. But I said, I'm just going to make sure that so Tommy is happy. And he goes, absolutely.
Aww.
And he was just so happy to have me there. He was he was genuinely happy. It was so sweet. And I thought, who is this person anyway? Where did he come from? Why wasn't he here 20 years ago?
Oh my God.
But people change, and it's I don't know why I was telling you that story, but it was a sweet story.
Well, on creation end, on the sculpting and designing and mold making for TV versus film, With TV, there has to be a fast turnaround a lot of times.
Yeah.
So you might get a week or 2 weeks to work on something. Whereas something like Godzilla with Patrick, we spent 8 months working on that. So
okay.
you're with the
The
same
lead times.
crew and you're
Yeah.
doing the same thing, but you're working on a project all together and you do become like a family. But sometimes on TV shows you have people coming and going and they change the script and they need to make new things, and so it's you don't have as much time to put as much work or effort into it. Whereas with a film, especially with a good budget, you have more time. Like on Mimic with Guillermo, they had a lot of time and they had a good budget, even though that was his first American film. And that was when I got to work with Rob Bottin, because they brought Rob in at the end. Rob did Total Recall and The Howling and just some amazing Legend, one of my inspirational films. But Ty Ruben Ellingson was doing the designs before. He was working with ILM and he had worked on Phantom Menace. So it was awesome working with him, and we had these beautiful Baroque creatures designed. But then the Weinsteins got involved, the producers, and it was Miramax, and they decided to change the creatures 3/4 of the way through production. We had to do new maquettes, and or not through production of the film, but pre-production. Well, it was about maybe not 3/4, maybe about a quarter in, working with Rick Lazzarini at the Character Shop. And then they had whole new designs, and we had to change midstream. So between TV and film and music videos and commercials, the budget really dictates everything and the time frame. Music, working with musicians can be the most hectic, and you don't get a lot of responses sometimes, and sometimes you do. And now with YouTube, dealing sometimes with YouTube celebrities, it's even the worst hecticness there in a way, because even though they might be the least involved in the industry, in our industry, they tend to come in with millions of followers, and that creates a different sense of entitlement to them to a degree, which is completely different when dealing with Academy Award winners that are usually laid back and really cool to collaborate with. But it all depends on the person individually, and it is. And sometimes you'll be expecting one thing and it's something completely different, and you just have to roll with the punches up until the point you can't take it anymore and you back out.
Let's go back to your point of budget, because I'm so fascinated by your earlier story, V, about, so when I think of Beetlejuice, the movie I love, what always comes to mind when I think of the characters, the kind of like gnarly grave decay that I've now learned was some hobby shop moss that you sent someone out to get.
Did I just blow your whole thing?
So clearly, no, I'm in love with this idea, and the fact that being in sort of part of a low budget production really forced you to kind of push the edges of creativity and come up with something that's so iconic to so many people.
So kooky, right?
So I have to ask, do you guys prefer low budget or high budget projects? Like if you're on a more constricted budget, do you feel like it pushes your creativity a little bit more? No. You're like, no.
No.
You're
Well,
like,
I mean,
give
it
me
does. I mean, it forces you to figure out stuff that you used to do a million years ago before you had money. You know what I mean? But it's like, do I prefer that? Oh, hell no.
Well, with the lower budget end, on at least from my perspective, it's you tend to have a lot more creative influence, and they'll give you a lot more freedom on what you can do because they're just happy to have you. Kind
Yeah,
of thing.
exactly.
Yeah, exactly. So they say just do whatever you want to do, or they might come to you just because of your style or your experience on another project, and they'll say, hey, we just brought you on because we want you to do what you do. Whereas on the multi-$100 million productions, you've got art directors, you've got designers, and it gets a lot more
cooks.
tight on the movement you have.
That's at the creative end. Like at my
Yeah.
end, it's better for me to have money because I come in past that heavy creative end. You know, it's like they've already created the prosthetics, they've already created the creature, and they're handing it to me to paint. Well, I want to have all the money I can have to make the paint look good, you know, and to make the actor's life happy. So it's a little bit different for me. You know, but I get so much free materials these days anyway from all the, we
People
have a
wanting
lot of artist
endorsements
supports.
and supports.
Well, now you have social media. When it started, it wasn't like that. But we had a lot of support. But, it doesn't usually come, you don't usually get the special effects stuff with that type of support. But, it's just easier to have everything that you need because it really helps to make the actor's life more comfortable. And because, they're in it for so long, you don't want them to have to worry about not having the right kind of removers or, hot towels or well, we can't have that because we don't have the right trailer, or you know, you can't do that because blah blah blah. We don't have the money for that. It's like, come on, guys, I just need some cold cream. I want some nice cream to put on their face at the end of the day, you know? You know, they swing for $100 jar of, you know, cream that maybe they can't get for free this time or something, you know? But it's, so, you know, there's certain aspects to that, you know, like, yes, starving artists are fun, and you do pull a lot out of your, you know what, when you have to, but, you know. Like I said, it's like you really, when those big budget things come in, they do kind of have a way of screwing you up artistically, because so many people want to tell you how to do it.
No.
And everybody has their own idea about what's going to be good. You know, you spend all this money hiring an incredible designer to design you these beautiful characters, and then, you know, all of a sudden Joe Blow's daughter comes in. Daddy, I don't like that.
Oh yeah. I've
And believe me, it
experienced that.
happens.
Oh
Yeah.
no, really?
It happens a lot more than you might think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're like, you know, like some producer's daughter comes in and goes, oh, is that what that's going to look like? Oh, that's awful.
Oh no.
And so
Yeah.
they start thinking, and they're going, oh, well, if my kid doesn't like it, does that mean nobody else is going to like it too? Are the other kids not going to like it? It's like, oh, for God's sake,
Oh
you've
my
got to be
God.
kidding me. Really?
Yeah. No. On Mimic, I had to deal with that
Oh,
with
boy.
when I think Harvey
We don't
Weinstein.
have to put that in, do we?
You're not naming any names. You're fine.
Oh, I just did.
Damn.
He came in with a gaggle of 20-year-old associate producers, assistants, and all those people. And one of them just blurted out, "It looks too big. It looks too big." And we'd already sculpted the whole thing. And they said, "Yeah, I think you're right. Can you make it 25% smaller? We'll be back tomorrow morning." Yeah. So I had to stay up all night just
Oh my
sculpting the
God.
thorax in foam all night. Get it ready, 25% smaller. We held it up and they go, "Oh yeah, you're right. Keep doing what you're doing. It's fine."
Oh,
So there's you know, you got to roll with the punches.
I feel you there. We've had
Manage it.
2D drawings where people are like, "That's great. Can I just see it from a different angle?" And you're like,
Yeah, it's 2D.
"Okay." How do you prepare your students for this eventuality?
Well, by having V go in and give them feedback. That frightens the hell out of them.
You get to
So I just
pretend.
walk into the
to
room
be
and the girls start going,
Yeah.
it's like, I haven't even said it, I haven't even opened my mouth, and all the little girls are like shaking in there, and I'm going, oh my God.
I mean,
feel
that's the
so
best thing we
bad.
can do. My nickname was Destroyer of Worlds. I don't know why. I thought that was a little harsh, just a
Oh
little.
my God.
But I'm not there to coddle them. I mean, I'm not going to insult them, but I'm going to say,
Well,
hey.
you might, so you better calm
Well,
down.
I try not to.
Tough love
Tough love.
for
Yeah.
their own good. for
Yeah, I
their
want
own
them to
good.
do better. I want them to push
I know,
themselves
I do
and
too,
push
but can you
themselves
just
and
give them a
push
nicety
themselves.
before you stab them in the heart?
Oh.
No.
Oh my God, you are the destroyer of worlds, aren't you?
Story of
Jesus
dream,
Christ.
dream worlds, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Let's switch gears a little bit and talk about the project that we're doing together. I'm so excited. So, for those of you that may have tuned in a couple weeks ago when we had an interview with Tom and V, we made the exciting announcement that Cinema Makeup School is doing at San Diego Comic-Con this year a makeup costume cosplay of one of our characters, Cleopsis, Eater of the Dead. So let's talk a little bit about that. What made you guys pick Court of the Dead and Cleopsis in particular?
Well, we really wanted to do, a collaboration with you guys, and obviously, choosing your characters would be the way to do it. And I had seen all of them, when you premiered them at Comic-Con in that beautiful gallery setting, but I couldn't remember what any individual one looked like. And then Lee said, "Well, what about Cleopsis?" And I said, "Well, okay, let me go look. Let me look at her." And I took one look at her, and I said to him, "Oh hell yeah, that's the one. We got to do her. She's awesome."
Awesome, thank you.
Yeah, she was perfect because she combines sculptural elements and
Yeah.
wardrobe and makeup and props, and it's all in one character. Plus, she's regal and she has presence, and it's a very stunning character from top to
Yeah.
bottom.
Thank you very much. So can you talk a little bit about the project? Like how many people are involved in bringing something like that together?
There's a lot of
That's
us.
a lot of people.
Time
We
for
have
the credit
people
roll.
all across the country. We partnered up with Evermore Creative in Utah. With David Powell and his crew. He's got at least 7 or 8 people working on that, which is phenomenal.
Wow.
We've got graduates at our school and students helping. We've got Madison Berger sculpting the headpiece. I've got Kelsey working with her on the headpiece and the back piece, and then Nick Alvarez sculpted the front piece, Kelsey Waldeman and Nick Alvarez. Then we've got
And Yun was
was helping on the headpiece, and we've got Irina coming in and working.
Wow.
And then we've got
lot of
Chad, the Mad Hatter, working with V on the
Awesome.
costume elements, and
Very cool.
He's
it's-
doing all the fabric pieces.
yeah, it's
Awesome.
a lot of work, especially because there are so many elements. And then I'm sculpting the mask, and then the prosthetic, and then I'm a lead sculptor and tying the team in Utah and our team here together as well. So that's the thing, we're trying to coordinate the designs and the colors, but from all across the country. So
Holy moly, that sounds like
Yeah.
10, 15 different people all
Oh,
coming
yeah.
together
At
to create one
at
look.
least, yeah. And so it's a lot of
Amazing.
emails and photographs and phone calls and late nights, and we've been working nonstop. And if we're not happy with it, we'll go back and we'll redo it, because we want to make sure it truly stands up to the beauty that y'all created here at Sideshow. I mean, that's like the perfect Bible for us to go from.
Thank you. We're so honored that you chose our character, that our character inspired you to bring this amazing team together to do this. Oh, we cannot wait. Oh, so you can tune in to Court of the Dead social media and also Cinema Makeup's social media to see some sneak peeks of the in progress of this look. But if you're going to be attending San Diego Comic-Con this July, or if you're following San Diego Comic-Con through us or Cinema Makeup School, you can see this look coming to life at Cinema Makeup School's booth. I don't suppose you know your booth number.
We do.
you?
It is
We can
4523.
4523.
4523.
Thank you, Sarah.
It is a must stop. 4523.
And where are we across from
4523.
AMC?
Yeah, we're across from the AMC Walking Dead
Yeah.
experience and
Awesome.
Fox, and I'll be there sculpting on various sculptures and maquettes. We'll have multiple teams doing multiple makeups. We have some graduates doing a Star Wars Jedi alien,
Oh,
and then we
cool.
have a Hellboy-inspired character, which is Hellboy, and it's going to be a lot of fun. And they get to see the process ongoing. Talk to us, find out more about the school. It's a lot of work, but it's worth it, especially
See the
to
makeup in
talk to
progress.
people directly, and they can see it in person. It's kind of like a mini traveling face-off we have going on.
Awesome. Awesome. What have been some of the most challenging aspects of bringing Cleopsis to life so far? I know there's a lot of moving parts, and you mentioned that. So I think-
and V and I were just talking about this earlier. It's coordinating the weight and the stability and the understructure and
All the different
yeah, because with
prosthetics
Taisha Wheaton, who is our incredible model, which we're obviously staying true to the character, but we're trying to put our spin a little bit in different areas.
Of course,
and
yeah.
Taisha she's gorgeous, and we're trying to match her face with the prosthetic and with the mask that goes on top. And she's tall and very statuesque. So we don't want her to be uncomfortable wearing it or walking around. So you've got this big headpiece. So
Yeah,
we're
the
trying to make it
headpiece
as
is
light as
gigantic.
possible. You've got these big dreads that we're trying to make as light as possible. She's got a snake she's carrying around that's going to light up, and she's got this giant scythe. And we've got a whole crew that we had a great idea to have them kind of in robes and wearing these masks to be like their retinue. And so it's really the
Imperial
logistics.
Guard kind
Yeah.
of the underworld. Right on.
Exactly.
So, and
Oh
then
my
dealing
God.
with the budget, because we're funding it, and it's low budget, so we're trying to be creative and put and so Evermore is out of the goodness of their heart, is helping us, which we
Yeah, I
couldn't
mean,
thank them enough.
We've been really lucky.
Yeah.
Everybody that has is collaborating with us is, they're doing. We're supplying all the supplies, but they are doing their services, a complimentary service for us.
Wow.
We even got our contact lenses for all of our
Yeah, from
characters
9mm,
complimentary
yeah.
from 9mm.
Wow.
Yeah.
So we've had a lot. We've been very fortunate. We're a school, so we don't have a lot of money to put into these. Here we go with the budget thing.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
So we've been forced to be as creative as possible and beg a lot. I made lots of phone calls.
Yeah.
But
I imagine you're very hard to say no to.
But I mean, we're fortunate in that we're kind of we produce some of the best talent,
Yeah.
I feel, in the world with our graduates. We have some incredibly artistic people that come through and go on to do amazing things.
Can you tell us what some of the work of some of your students?
Well, I
you
mean,
might
we have
recognize?
many Emmy Award-winning graduates. We had Diana, who was just working on the Academy Award-winning Darkest Hour with Kazoo. We have Zena Steisel. I don't know how many Emmys she has for Dancing with the stars. We have Sabrina was just nominated last year, the year before, for LBJ, working with Bill Corso.
Yep.
We have, there's not a single horror movie or science fiction or fantasy show that probably, at a minimum tangentially in the creation end, but on set doesn't have our graduates. We have graduates on Game of Thrones, every
Awesome.
Marvel film.
Yeah.
We've got graduates on all the Conjuring films, The Nun,
I love those.
Sinister, Aquaman. I don't know, I could just keep going, and we're very proud of them.
Casey Love here in our
Casey
paint
Love
department
here
at
is
Sideshow.
incredible.
Yeah, that was cool.
We've
know,
got
and
Wayne Anderson.
Yeah,
We've
not
got
to mention, a lot of the, we had a lot of graduates on Face Off, and from that alone, they got so much coverage. A lot of them have gone on to become union members now, so
Oh, yeah.
we've had incredible success stories, you know?
Yeah.
That's so
And like I
awesome.
say, I think we're the Harvard of makeup school, so, I mean,
Yeah, we take it very seriously,
I like that.
and we're kind of like the Emerald City in Oz. If you made your way to us, you're ready. And it's a lot of hard work to get out to Los Angeles,
yeah, it is.
and we want to inspire the people all around the world that want to do this as a career. But we only want those people that are serious about it, that want to take it all the way to the end. And we're just thrilled with a lot of our students, a lot of our graduates. They all really take it that extra mile, and we try to inspire with our teachers and our staff as much as we can.
That is wonderful. Thank you both so much.
Sure.
Let's end it. I'd love to. We didn't do a Q&A with this segment, but a question we see a lot is, what piece of advice do you have for someone aspiring, in your industry? So I'd love to make that sort of our last question here at the end. Like, if you had one piece of advice for someone who wants to go into the special effects makeup world, what would that be?
Wow, follow your heart. I mean, I don't know what else to say. I mean, you have to be passionate about this career, because there is a lot of competition now. But I mean, if you're passionate enough and you stick to it, and like I always tell the students, I said, there is no job that doesn't pay any money that you should not be taking. I mean, take any job that's offered you, because it's all about getting experience. Once you have the knowledge, you have to get the experience, because that's what's going to make you better. And that's going to fuel your passion as well. When you can see something that you've completed, it's just going to make you want it. You're going to get addicted, and you're just going to keep wanting to do it again and again and again. And it's like, you have to have that passion, that stick-to-itness, or you're not going to make it,
Yeah, like I tell all the kids coming in, you're going to be told no throughout your whole life if you want to do this for a living. Your family's going to say it's a joke of a career, you're not going to make money, there's too much competition. Well, if you never put your body in Los Angeles to do the work, how will you ever know if it's feasible? It's better to try and not look back and regret. Okay, and there's the only thing that separates V and myself and all of these wonderful artists out here working is we just didn't take no for an answer. We just kept moving forward. We came out here. That's why we're a small community. There's not a large amount of people out here doing this. A lot of people think there's hundreds of thousands. No, it's not that many people. Most of us know each other. The only thing that separates us is, well, you're from here, but I had to go through a lot of firewalls of people telling me this isn't something you can ever do. And okay, you stay back in Alabama and you work in the factory, or you get that mortgage, or you get that family, you get that bass boat. Everybody had a bass boat. But I'm not going to stop. And I finally, came out, and that's the thing that
Did you bring
separates
your bass
us.
boat with
I
you?
did not. I did bring my pickup truck, though. I
think your students are going to need to build you a bass boat.
And they're also going to find that, because if they went through all of that, they're going to have a negative view of what they do or themselves, in that they're going to be their worst critic, because they've been practicing and they're so hard on themselves. And that is the thing I see that defeats everyone. When they get defeated is they don't think they're good enough. They don't think they can do it. No, just go to sleep, get up the next day, and go into work again. You're going to be fine. You're going to fail. Things are going to go wrong, sometimes horribly wrong, but you have to recover and move on.
That's how you learn,
That's
right?
it's throughout
Keep
life.
doing it.
Yeah. So if you're afraid of
Practice
failure,
makes perfect.
you've never failed. You have to keep failing over and over until a failure becomes a success. And they're really the same thing, because you don't learn from success, you learn from failure.
Exactly.
So.
Well, thank you so much
Thank
for joining
you.
us. We're so excited to be working with you guys. We're excited
Great,
for
we are too.
Comic-Con
Yeah, we are
coming
too.
up around the corner. Cleopsis Makeup. Don't forget to stop by Cinema Makeup's booth, Cinema Makeup School's booth, which was
45-23.
45-23. We'll
Just
put
look
it
for The
in
Walking
chat.
Dead, our
Yeah.
scientific.
Yeah, yeah.
Here with all the zombies.